for those of you who don't know. But yes, we're talking about roles, relationships, and dating. This is an open conversation. This is not based on my opinion. I will tell what I have experienced, but other people will be able to chime in. If you would like to come on, you can come on. You can comment. We'll talk about those, whatever comments you leave. So first, I polled everyone in here. I put up a poll asking a question. Basically, how do you define love, and what do you need to feel loved? So one of the answers that I got was love of self fully and the desire to love others as is, loving through good and bad, which I really thought was a really good answer. So there's different variations of love. There's self-love, and there's love of others, love of a spouse or family, child, that type of love. Hey y'all, hey to everybody that's coming in. So we're gonna go into the definition by Webster's, right? So love is strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. Unselfish, loyal, and benevolent. Concern for the good of another. So that's Webster's dictionary. For those of you who are Christians, who believe in God, who all of those things, and we're going to get into that conversation too. 1 Corinthians says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud. That's 1 Corinthians 13:4. And the next one is 13:5. Or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. So when we think about that definition, are we truly operating out of love, or are we operating out of our own selfishness, or is it lust? So we're going to get into those conversations. Also, and I want you all to put it in the comments. How do you all define love? What are your own experiences with being in love, good or bad? This is an open forum. Are you choosing to put your partner's needs above your own, which is actually the one of the key things in a relationship? And when you are in love, you are choosing to share yourself or your life with someone else. So I think that a lot of the times when we are in relationships, we don't necessarily think about the other person and their needs and their wants. We start with what we're looking for, or what we want out of it. And it's we might want something out of it, but you are attaching yourself to another human being who has their own wants, dreams, aspirations, and desires. So how do you connect with that human being? You can't just go in enforcing what you want. If each person comes together and focuses on one another's needs, then it becomes easier to have the relationship with one another within reason. I'm not talking about the needs of going to Chanel and just buying the whole store. That's not a need, that's a want. I'm talking about speaking each other's language, whether it is you like acts of kindness, or you may like certain gifts like a flower, something within reason, maybe a movie date. Maybe you like to cook for your spouse or significant other. Um, Maybe, you know, your spouse wants you to like watch sports with him or just engage in like maybe a game night or, you know, let's just say a couple's trivia night or something. Something that both parties will enjoy. You can't just have it your way all the time. So, understanding the other person's love language, understanding the other person's wants, dreams, and desires, and then having that person do the same in return. Those are key aspects of love. Um, let's see. Did you all have any like comments that you wanted to say, or just drop it down in the comments and then we'll talk about it. So another thing that that I wanted to hit on is, are you in love with yourself or your partner? So that kind of piggybacks off of putting your partner's needs above your own. But more so, when you enter into a relationship, what is the purpose of you entering into the relationship? Is it for your own gratification, or is it that you really want to share a life with this person, or you actually see yourself with this person? Also, love is shown in how you speak to the other person or about the other person. I actually had someone that was supposed to be joining in on the conversation. I don't know where he is. But he was supposed to be giving the male's perspective on this. So what I'm going to do is double back and talk about the way men and women love. So men and women, ultimately, because we think differently, our emotions are different, we operate differently. Of course, we love differently. I'm going to speak from a woman's standpoint. A lot of times women love the good morning text messages because they want to know, let's see, here he is. They want to know that you were thinking about first thing in the morning. They like random text messages throughout the day, maybe a phone call just to see, you know, how they were doing or how they, you know, how their day went. They like flowers. A lot of women like flowers still. A lot of women like, you know, the hand holding and the public displays of affections, the chocolates and all of that kind of stuff, just to know that you care, or they want to feel special. They want to feel important. Um, for a man, that can be totally different. You all want to feel different in another way. But ultimately, women want to feel wanted. I will say men want to feel needed. And so I have a guy on my Instagram. So I don't know if some of you all can hop over to Instagram to see it, but you in Facebook land. But how are you doing? Introduce yourself.
I'm Mario Franklin. I'm doing okay.
All right. So it's the love language. Yes, it is the love language. Okay. So we'll get to that in a second. So what is your definition of love?
Well, my
I
definition,
don't know if you all can hear. Let me see if I can turn this up. I'm sorry. Okay.
well, love itself, you can't be selfish when you're dealing with love. Um, it's about, pretty much sharing your life and wanting to share, I guess be a part of each other's world and just to pretty much experience everything that you love to do with somebody else and, vice versa. Um, but I mean, the main thing is to, be in tune with each other. You got to be equally yoked, first of all.
Now, explain what that means, because a lot of people may not know what that means.
Well, first of all, okay, we could look at spiritual, from a spiritual aspect. You can't be, a lover of God and be with somebody who doesn't believe in God. Because first of all your morals and beliefs won't match what theirs is.
Okay.
Because I mean, a lot of people who don't believe in God, there's like a lot of boundaries that they, doesn't exist in their world that exist in yours.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the first thing. And I mean, I guess it all starts from that, because, God, when you put God first, everything else falls into place. But I guess, one major thing is marriage, when as far as marriage, when you're married, there's a covering that God puts over you. Especially like as far as sex and everything, it's a whole different ball game when God is involved. It doesn't, there's no regret or anything like that when you're doing it.
So
Because,
I didn't, you know what? I didn't want to tip off into the marriage aspect of it, even though that's great that you brought that up. It is, but you actually have the marriage perspective. I kind of wanted to get like, I wanted to do that one separately because I actually want couples um to be able to come on and talk about their experiences being married, but
mm-hmm.
also those who have been married, what they've experienced, maybe what they've learned, and then those who are about to get married, those who are in the engagement phases or maybe have been engaged, what their expectations are, you know, that type of thing. So I do want to have that whole conversation because it's very important for us to know what it is that we should and should not be doing, right?
Right.
Because most times in relationships, the goal is marriage. The funny thing is, though, I was talking with a girl and she met this guy, and she was like, I really like him, but I don't think I want to marry him. And I was like, what? And she was like, no, I just think that we could just be boyfriend and girlfriend for a long time. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well that works 20, 30 years from now. Um, I there are people that have done it, but I think that majority of people think that the goal of a relationship is to get married after some time, however they gauge it. But she was just like adamant about it, and she was like, he's a really nice guy, and he even talked about it. And I'm like, well, if he talked about it, sis, that means he's thinking about it in some capacity. But whatever, that's a whole nother topic
Well,
for
you know
another
what?
day.
That explains your whole different definition of love. Um, that's a situation where somebody's selfish because she wants it her way, and as long as she get it her way, it'll work out.
I didn't even look at it like that. Okay. Okay.
So
That's one
I
way of
mean,
looking at it.
not saying that she don't love him at all, but that may satisfy her heart.
But not his.
Right.
Gotcha.
At some point, he gonna be fed up, and it's not gonna work out
No,
because
that's true.
somebody out there is gonna want what he wants. And he might love her to death, but if she's not gonna do what want to take that step further, why stay?
That's true.
Nobody want to be old and doing the same thing. I mean, at some point you want that togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just want to be, oh, we're friends living together. At some point, you're going to turn into roommates.
Now, you know what? That actually happens. I've heard with a lot of married couples that have been together for like 40 years plus, they become like roommates. So I actually want to get that perspective, like that part. Like, I would say from what I have experienced looking at my own parents, um, actually my dad has been gone for 21 years. My parents were married for over 20 years. And they met in school, got married, had kids, and I never saw them publicly fight. Whatever arguments and things like that, they kept it between one another. Um, they wouldn't speak badly about each other. If there was a function that was happening right after they had the argument, you would never know that the argument had even happened because it would be like nothing even happened. The one thing that my mom did tell me is that they never went to bed angry. They always talked about whatever it was before they went to bed so that they don't start the new day with the same issues. Um, Something else that I noticed is that they catered to one another. Like my mom made sure that my dad was good. My dad made sure that my mom was good. And that was clearly demonstrated. My dad was actually a very giving person, even though, so I think that, and I'm gonna just say the men that I have talked to, I think that there's a misconception about being the head and being um, giving, being, because there's a whole submissive thing that a lot of men try to use, and it's actually being weaponized to make women feel belittled. But from my experience with my own parents, they were submissive to one another. Their relationship was tight enough for nobody else to infiltrate. Um, and growing up seeing that was something that, well, for me, at that time, I didn't want to be married. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, that just seemed like it's a lot. Like, no, I just want to live my life.
Right.
I just want to, you know, do what I want to do, right? Um, and so I have been engaged a couple times and I have been proposed to quite a few times. I chose not to be married. Maybe I will get married in the future, but I wasn't ready. And I'm glad that I didn't do it at a point where I wasn't ready, because at those points in my life, I could have made the situation toxic, right? Because I wasn't ready and I was being selfish with my own needs. So I think that by doing what I've done and not taking that step was, it was a personal decision, but to me, it was a better decision because you would rather not hurt another person because you're in a stage of you wanting to be selfish.
Right.
And I think that that actually takes more, it takes more, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it's harder to do that than it is to just say, okay, let's go ahead and do it, and then be in it and you looking like this ain't what I really want to do. You know what I mean? So I think walking away and saying, you know what, I'm just not quite ready yet. You know what? I thought I was, just not there yet. Maybe, catch me in a few years, but
Mm.
um but no, back to, what I was saying about my parents, just their demonstration of love is not something that I have seen in our age group. Um it was something. Even I had a conversation with my godmother, and she was like, she hasn't seen that the way that my parents loved each other was something different. um so just imagine, like, when my mom had to experience my dad dying, like, that was totally devastating. And she never remarried after that because that was the love of her life. So I think that we have to get to a place where we can love, and love where it is a transactional, unselfish thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, what I was going to ask you, Mario, is what are the things that you need to feel love? Like, what is the way that you think men love versus the way that women love?
Well, like our discussion we had before, and I know people are gonna be upset when I say this, but like when I,
Don't be making stuff one sided now. Don't be now. I'm a woman and I love the women's, but you got to be real about that thing before you even say something. I think I know where it's going now.
well, when I said like men are like dogs, we want to, we want, we actually want you to. It's almost like we want you to pet us on our back or pet us on the rub our head when we do something, and it's like we look for that type of love from a woman. It's like it's almost like one of them situations where we don't have the love within ourselves, so we look for it in you. And your love is what keeps us going, because we don't love us. A lot of us don't love ourselves the way
Well,
we
that
should.
can go both ways now, because
Right,
there's a
right.
lot of women
I
that put
understand.
their everything into a man and then don't love themselves. And then when that man uh leaves or does what he does, now she's trying to find herself because she didn't take the opportunity to get to know herself or love herself. So that could go both ways now.
Yeah,
You
true.
can't just say that men just identify, like, their whole identity is wrapped up in a woman. I don't
No,
know.
no, no. Well, I mean, well, you can agree that majority of a man's life, everything we do is for a woman, to impress a woman. I mean, from the way we dress, the cars we want, half the stuff we don't even want ourselves. We just, if y'all not looking at it, we don't want it, really.
So
I mean,
Yana is saying words of affirmation uh is something that she needs as a love language.
mm-mm.
And most women do want words of affirmation, but honestly, guys like words of affirmation. But most women don't even know that. Like, your man probably wants you to encourage him, affirm him. When he washes the dishes, he wants you to tell him, "Thank you, honey, for washing the dishes." Even if he ain't washing the way you wanted them to be washed, he still wants you to say thank you, because it's not something that he might normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so men do need that. We need it, but men need it too.
But we're not going to admit it because we feel
Yeah.
like, many of us feel like that's a sign of weakness. We don't want you to know what our weaknesses are.
Why is that?
Because you have, just like you have no good men, you have no good women who don't respect it when you come out. Like, like I told you before, going on dates where I had women say holding their hand was gay. Or just because I tell them how I feel, I'm acting like a woman, saying I'm too sensitive just because I'm telling you what you said hurt my feelings or something.
Hmm.
So you might have a guy keep getting his feelings hurt by somebody because he can't express it, and he'll go to that woman who will listen to him talk and vent. And it's not that he being a dog because he got through with the other one. It's just the other one's respecting him. It's a lot of that going on. It's not that it's a lot of bad guys out there. It's just somebody's out there willing to listen to their heart.
You know what? And I will agree. I will agree with that. And that is why I wanted to have these conversations, because men are having these conversations separately and women are having these conversations separately. And neither one of them are coming together and publicly having these open conversations. But men are dealing with the same stuff that women are dealing with. I'm going to say it again. Men are dealing with the same stuff that women are dealing with. And sometimes some of those stories be a little on the crazy side and they make us look crazy as hell. I'm going to just tell you that from some of my male friends that have told me some stories, and I'll be looking at them like, what in the entire hell? So, I think that we need to understand that we both have our own struggles, that we both want to be loved the same way. And a lot of times, when there is other things in the mix, usually people are operating out of hurt and they're on the defense because of past hurts that they have not cleared up, and they're just bringing it into the relationship. And that's another thing. When you love someone, you have to love those hurts too. And you got to know what those hurts are, what those triggers are, because they're going to come up. If you stay with that person 5 years, it may not come up the first year because they're showing you their representative, but it may come out in year 2. It usually comes out when you marry, and then you have to deal with what you married. And then that's when it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of situation, because now the person is comfortable and they're showing you all of these things. There's comments on Facebook. Let me see. Tiana says she understands what you're saying. Men tend to need those words to keep him going. She was saying that personally, affirmations are on the low end of her list. Her top priority is acts of service, which I would say I'm that person too. I like acts of service. I would rather you do something that shows that you care versus just buying a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm not that person. Like, if you buy something, you buy flowers, it might not be the flowers that I really want, but like, I would rather you have maybe help me do something. Maybe if I needed gas, put gas in the car type of situation. I'm a little bit more practical. So everybody not like that. But what are she's saying on here, from my experience, he is very correct. Yeah, so there are women who are not loving right either. They're just doing it just to be doing something. It's not even love. It's just jumping into something just to be like, I'm in it. Because to me, when you really love somebody, holding hands should not be an issue. That's actually the least of your concerns. Like, that's something that you should want. So I don't know if that person was just wanting to be in a relationship for the sake of saying they're in a relationship. That's what that sounds like, though.
Yeah. But let's be real too. If we, since social media want to do all these challenges and whatever, what if there was a challenge where when you met somebody, you couldn't have sex with them for a year? How many people would fall in love?
Oh Lord, a lot of people would. You know what? But that is that's actually not a bad idea. However,
Because I went years
a lot of
without.
men would not be able to handle that. And there are women who are really hot that can't handle that either. So I don't know how well that would necessarily work, but technically, with staying from sex until marriage is ideal for the sake of understanding whether or not you genuinely like a person. Does that really happen? No, it does not. But that's technically why you're supposed to be abstaining until you get married, so that you know without a shadow of a doubt that this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. There are people that do it. There's a girl that I follow, and she and her, it's like Brianna something, but she and her now husband, they actually just got married. I want to say last weekend or the weekend before, but they talked about their journey in dating and not having sex. They wanted to know each other without the confusion of having sex, and that's the other part. Sex is confusing. Let's just put it out there. It confuses you for the most part, because you're sleeping with a person, and for a lot of women, they can't sleep with a person without getting attached to them. So now you're attached. You have this attachment to this person, and then you're like, oh, I can't live without them. Is it that you can't live without them, or you can't live without the sex that they're giving you? That's two different things. Um, I think that sex is an addition to the person. It should not be the total picture of the person, but it's an addition to. There are some guys that I have talked to that said they want to know whether or not the person is good in the bed, and I'm like, so you can teach a person tricks. You know, you can teach a person whatever it is that you want to teach them. So that's not necessarily needed. That's a want, and that's actually not in the love category. So, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, my thing is, what happened to? I can remember back in high school times when you was somebody, y'all wind up sleeping with each other, whatever, and just because you really liked them, it was special to you. Now it's like a competition. Oh, this person got an A for this, they get a B for this, so they were horrible, and that determines if you want to be with them or not. But at first, it was like that didn't matter. It was like y'all grew together, and say that person was a virgin. What you gonna say? Oh, they were horrible. Of course, I mean it's the first time. Just because you was out there, probably slept with 100 people, don't mean that. I mean, of course you're gonna be a pro. You can't base that on everything. People don't give people a chance no more. They get on social media and clown them.
That
And
is true.
and
Well,
yeah.
when you're talking about from the standpoint of somebody giving their virginity, that's something totally different because, and you was talking about high school, like,
No,
first
but I
off,
mean, even
first
at our
off, let me
even at
just
our
say,
age.
if there are any kids watching this, teenagers, I did see my goddaughter on here. So I'm gonna say this. Uh you should not be having sex in high school.
No,
I'm
no,
just gonna
I don't
I'm just gonna
condone it by
say that.
no means. I'm just saying, like,
Uh you should not be having sex in high school. Why? 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 Like, um,
I was
a lot of
bamboozled.
times people do it, kids do it because their peers are talking about it. They want to experience it. The boys are horny, girls get horny. They want to do it. They want to try it. However, 9 out of 10, you don't know what in the heck you're doing.
Yeah. You
Now
know what?
everybody's saying you're not going to be taking the proper precautions or anything else to do so. Furthermore, you're too young, blank, blank, to be engaging in those activities that come with adult consequences. Because boys at that age, they're just horny and they're trying to stick their private areas in anything. Let's just be honest. They're trying to figure out what he does, how he does it, and all of that. So first off, you're the experiment. So you don't want to be nobody's experiment. You want it to be special. You want it to be when you're truly ready and you think you can handle the consequences of those actions. They can either result in pregnancy or result in STDs or result in heartbreak, which those are things that uh, adults can handle better. Um, so I'm not saying that all of those bad things necessarily happen, but that is a part of engaging in adult activity at a young age because you don't know what the heck you're doing. So I am not condoning that you have sex in high school. The gentleman on here was making he was just making that an example, but that is not my perspective. That is not my view. I think that you should wait until you're adult, fully capable of making choices that you can afford, that you understand, and preferably when you're married. So I will say that.
Yeah, maybe I should have worded that different.
No, I just had to make that statement, especially because even though there are adults on here, I did see my goddaughter pop in a few times, and so I have to break that down because I don't know if there are any other teenagers that will view these videos and the series, and I don't want them to take the wrong idea, which is why we're having these conversations, because ultimately the things that we do affect them. And then they do the same things a lot of the times, and we don't want them to repeat some of the decisions that we have made. We want them to make better decisions. So that is a part of why I why we're having these conversations and why I felt like it was very important to have these conversations. So I just want to put that out there. You can continue.
I done lost track now, but
You
basically,
were talking about, so what I was asking you was the way that men love versus the way women love. You talked about your experiences in dating. So you were talking about the sexual part of it and, possibly not having sex
oh yeah,
until you've been together, I don't know, for some time. I don't know what you were making that statement, but you started with the high school thing, and I want to clear that up because we don't want to
oh
do that.
yeah.
Well, we don't want to do that.
No, I mean, but I think if you eliminate that up front, you really get to see every side of somebody.
Yeah,
Of course,
so
people are gonna be nice to you if you having sex with them. But
so
if
you're
you,
saying sex clouds your judgment.
pretty much, I mean, it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't allow you to, yeah, you're right. As far as cloud judgment, because you won't see every side of that person, even if the person's clearly not right for you. If
Mm-hmm.
you, I mean, if you all emotionally attached due to, having sex with them, I mean, it could be right in your face. This person, um, disrespect you and everything like that, but you love them so much because of how they made you feel in bed, of course you're gonna have an excuse for every action they have.
That's true. So the other point that I had was um consistently hurting, manipulating, degrading, and demeaning the other person is not love. Um, so that kind of piggybacks off of, what you're saying, but that was actually a point that I had. And so I think that a lot of times, because of our desire to want something to work, to love a person, sometimes it can turn into something toxic. That's why you also have to pay attention to the past that the person has, uh the issues that they may have. That should be a conversation, because those same issues will come up in the relationship further down the line. And sometimes there's a switch that flips with a person, and they're dealing with whatever it is within themselves, and it comes out as demeaning, degrading, hurting through maybe emotional hurt, where they're um, not showing love and affection. Maybe physically they're putting their hands on you. Maybe you can actually and those are abuses as well. Financially, like withholding finances when you all are in a marriage or a partnership where finances are shared, or that person is predominantly the breadwinner. When they decide that they're going to withhold finances to hurt you, that is a form of abuse. I said what I said. um so even in how you talk to a person now, that's something else that I want to talk about, because there are a lot of people, especially women, and I'm going to talk about this because I think that there are a lot of women that are out of order, and they going to hate me for what I'm saying, but it is what it is. You got to watch how you talk to a man, especially the man that you have chosen to be your partner, your spouse, however you term it. You got to watch how you talk to him, because every time you demean him or degrade him or manipulate him in some way, shape, form, or fashion, that is a form of abuse. And that's not showing love. Now, that person might piss you off. I'm not saying that love is just this funny, fuzzy feeling all day long. You're going to feel like that for the 20, 30 years that you all are together. That's not true. But you also have to respect that other person, and there's a way to say things. And a lot of people don't understand that how you say things is everything, and it can make or break a relationship. So you have to be careful in how you word things and how you make the other person feel, because remember, love is an unselfish act. So getting into a relationship and falling in love is saying, I am choosing you to go through life with, or I'm choosing you to go through this period of my life with, however you think of it. Um, and I want to have a shared experience with you. I want to create memories with you. Um, and by doing that, you put that person's needs above your own. By putting their needs above your own, I'm not talking about having sex a gazillion times. I'm not I'm not saying that, because men will flip this. Some people will try to flip this. I'm just talking about if they need help doing something, if they, if they like the little things that we think are not important, those things that actually help to um make another person feel special. those things. I'm not talking about the shopping spree. Um, I'm not talking about, you know, the Louis Vuittons that you want. Like, I'm not talking about that, the expensive stuff that, you know, it's okay to have, but that should not be a need. That's not a part of a need. But the emotional connection, the words of affirmation, the acts of service or kindness, the different things. There is a book that talks about this. That talks about love languages, and everybody has them. So you all try to look that up, because that's very necessary when you are talking about love and relationships. And even when you're talking to the younger generation, if you have children or if you have nieces or nephews, and talking to them about relationships, you want to come from a healthy standpoint. And some of us need to come out of our own hurts and pains and look at it from a healthier standpoint. What were you about to say? I saw you.
Um, um, I think basically love, if you really think about it, everybody got their own definition of it. You have a person who, like you say, with Louis Vuitton, you can have somebody, as long as they're showered with riches, they may be satisfied for a lifetime. And then you might have that next person, as long as they have companionship, they're fine with that. And then you have that next person who pretty much they don't like being lonely.
Mm-hmm.
So they could get anybody they get with, they think they're in love with. You know, it's like they could be with one person today, they break up next week, someone come right in into their life, they're in love again instantly. And
But
they're
is that
fine with
really
that.
love, or is that lust?
In their heart, in their mind, it's love. They can't separate the two. So they could go a lifetime thinking that's what love is. But who are we to tell them it's not? You know, I mean, our definition of love is different. But in their heart, that's the definition of love.
Hmm.
And they're fine with that. You know, just like you say, it could be somebody lived with each other for 30 years, never got married. And they'll tell you, we're fine with that.
Well, I mean, they've come to terms with whatever situation they have going on. Um, so maybe that's something that they agreed to together. But the jumping from one relationship to the next and saying that you are in love in every relationship, I personally don't believe that that's actually possible. I
I
think
don't,
that people have, um, I don't, I don't, yeah, I don't believe that. I
well,
think that
just,
people, you can fall in love, and usually you have that first love, right?
right,
And what happens with that first love for a lot of people determines how they love for a long time. Um, and so for women, you have the first love. It didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. Now you're harboring anger and resentment. Now all of a sudden, all black men are horrible people.
right.
For men, um, it is interpreted differently. And I'm just, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they have that first love. And then if that first love breaks their heart, now they're bed hopping.
True.
So they're kind of, men don't show their emotions physically, but by them bed hopping, they're detached because they're going from person to person. So they're not dealing with the issue. Neither one are dealing with the issue. So when they come together in adulthood, they are both operating out of hurt instead of love, and they're thinking that it's love, and it's not necessarily love because they have not dealt with that hurt. And I think that that's one thing that I I'm not trying to give advice. These are conversations, open conversations. And if people have solutions or thoughts about a situation, you can chime in. But I will give this advice. If you have been hurt, and that's a lot of people, and you got to be honest with yourself, and have not dealt with that hurt, deal with that hurt before you go enter into a relationship. Analyze yourself, what you did in probably previous relationships. Um, Analyze how those relationships went, and then work through those pains and triggers and things like that so that you are good for the next relationship that you go into, because we have to stop this cycle of hurting other people based on our own hurts.
Right. And
What were you about
even
to
if
say?
even if you get beyond the point of infatuation, lust, and obsession, people still don't know the difference between having love for somebody, love, and being in love. Those are the three things that people can't tell the difference between.
Hey everybody that's joining in. um we're doing a part 2 to the roles, relationships, and dating. We're talking about love and misconceptions. You just brought up a point that people do not recognize what love is and being in love. Um, I think that then that will boil down to past hurts, and then not actually having these conversations. This is why these conversations are needed. Not actually having these conversations with your elders, or because your friends can't necessarily guide you in that manner, but older people have a different perspective and a different take on things. And I think that we need to really be willing to share our own experiences to help, the next generation, um, or even each other, because there are some things that we can navigate together, and we can work through together. So, um, back to what you were saying with not recognizing those things. How do you recognize what love is and being in love?
Well, my thoughts of love is, I mean, I can narrow it down to this. When you get that feeling where I don't care where you at, I don't know, you could be having the most fun you ever had. You could be on an island somewhere, and you could be with the most exciting people. But if you don't feel complete without that person by you, you'll run to the side, text them, call them, and all you want to do is be with them. That's my definition of love. When you can't live without somebody, and I'm not saying, oh, I'm gonna kill myself if but it's like if you wake up every morning and you can't see yourself
Yourself
not
without
hearing
that
that
person.
person,
Mm-hmm.
that's love. That's not something you can make up. It's just what your heart is and what your soul. It's like you feed
Hey
off
y'all.
of it, and it's like you won't feel complete without that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your body. It's like your heart's a puzzle, and that's the last piece to the puzzle. And if you don't, no matter where you at, if that person's not there, you're always missing that last piece. So that's how I feel as far as
When
the way I feel if I love somebody. Well, actually in love with somebody.
Gotcha.
Because you can't have love for somebody and just love somebody. But that's when you in
Now
love with
explain
somebody.
that because a lot of people don't understand what that means.
Well, having love
Having
for
love for. Mm-hmm.
love and love for somebody. I mean, I could call and check up on you, and I don't want nothing bad to happen to you, and I can go visit you, and this is that. I don't want to sleep with you or nothing like that, or I don't have no type of romantic feelings for you. I have love for you. You can have love for a stranger,
Mm-hmm.
but loving somebody, you can love somebody. You can actually be intimate with them and everything, but you only want you have a boundary and
Gotcha.
that you won't cross. You don't want to be with that person for a lifetime. And if that person should happen to say one day, I don't think this is gonna work out, you'll be like, okay, you're not even gonna question it. But if
Hmm.
you're in love with them, you need some type of closure or some type of explanation.
So that that's a good one. I wanted to go back to what you were saying about loving, like being in love to where you want to spend time with a person. You don't, it doesn't matter where you are, you want to hear from that person. Um, maybe your day is not complete unless you talk to that person. Those are some of the feelings that you feel when you are in love. They become your almost like your world. I don't necessarily, well, somewhat, because you're inviting them into your world, and so they do become a part of your world. Um, but you can't go a day without talking to them. And a lot of times, and I'm going to say this from a woman's standpoint, and hear me clearly, men, uh, when I was talking about the differences between the way men love and the way women love, there are some similarities, but there are also some differences. For a woman, she needs that connection. She needs to hear your voice, see that text. She needs to um, feel you in some capacity. And I've been asked, because just like women, men have the same issues as I said previously. Why they get cheated on? Well, when a woman feels like you're neglecting her, just like when men feel neglected, um, a lot of the times they're like, okay, maybe he's doing something that he should not be doing. Maybe somebody else is taking up his time. And then instead of having those conversations, a lot of the times, um, people start conversing with other people, and then it leads into other situations. Um, which, I mean, that happens with men too. But I'm not a man, so I'm gonna let you finish that one.
Well, that's another thing. You can't be in love with somebody and cheat on them.
Really?
No, you can't.
So
That's
how is it that married people uh have done it?
they were love. They loved each other. Yeah. I mean, if you fall out of love, then it opens that gateway to do that. But you can't presently be in love with somebody and cheat on them.
Okay.
You just can't. I mean, if you're in love with somebody, you'll take a bullet for somebody you're in love with.
I mean, they might still do that, and but I don't know. I don't. So
When when I love when
people
I
have done it and said that they were still in love. Like I've heard people say, I really love this person, but their needs are not getting fulfilled. So that's the other part. When people's needs are not getting fulfilled, or when there are issues in the relationship. So I don't. yeah, when there are issues in the relationship, and the woman comes and talks to you about it and you ignore it on several occasions. Um, like when men come and talk to women about whatever it is they take issue with, and the woman doesn't necessarily address it, or she doesn't acknowledge his feelings, then what usually happens in those situations is people start talking to other people. You and I had that conversation of how it kind of starts. It's with the conversation. Cheating does not happen with just people getting in the bed together. I said what I said. It starts with a conversation. And
Oh,
those conversations,
not to cut you off, but touching on what you're about to say, when you talk to other people, okay, if you can't talk to the person you with and you're supposed to be in love with them, and you feel the need that you need to talk to somebody on the outside, why not all three of y'all talk?
how is
Why
that possible?
you could
Is that really possible?
I mean, if you just need to hear advice from that third party, why is that so hard?
Because men don't accept that. I'm gonna be honest.
But
I don't
if they
know.
don't,
I don't know nan man that wants somebody coming up and telling him how to do his job. Okay, even if he's not doing his job, I don't know no men that are accepting of that. And if it's a man that has a female friend and he's coming to his wife to say that, she gonna be looking like, who is this chick? And why she in my house trying to run my show? So I don't know about that.
well, once you, but
Um,
if you can't do that, even if you had to step out to talk to that friend on that level, you need to analyze your relationship, because if the person you're talking to on the phone is pretty much able to advise and tell you what this person should be doing for you, maybe that's you need a person like that. Because apparently the person you with don't know how to love you. You know,
well,
even if it's your best friend and say he's single, maybe that's who you supposed to be with.
you know, okay. So many times we do have those friends that are the voice of reason that are of the opposite sex. For those who have friends of the opposite sex, right? And when you enter into a relationship, just like you tell your female friends, you will probably tell your male friends, or that one male friend that you have that's been like day one, where you can have those conversations with. Now, I'm not saying that that day one will turn into a romantic situation, because that's not necessarily true, because maybe you all don't see each other like that. But you can easily meet somebody at the bar, and I'm just get this example, and you start venting about your relationship to that person at the bar while you done had like 20 drinks. I don't know. I'm over exaggerating because I don't even think they'll give you 20 before kicking you out. But you get enough drinks in your system. Now you talking about your girl or you talking about your guy to this person. Well, now, number one, you done open the door for some madness because you don't know this person. And they looking at you like, okay, well, you seem like, you not being done right, so let me do you right, And then after a few conversations, maybe, maybe the first time was innocent. Maybe there's a second time because y'all exchange numbers. Maybe it's a third, you meet up. Maybe it's a fourth, y'all at the hotel. Something that simple. Because that person is actually paying attention. And that was the part that I was saying in the beginning, learning your partner's love language, learning one another and understanding one another. And that's what a lot of people don't do in relationships. They jump into the relationship and they don't actually understand how one another see each other or how they love and how you all can flow in the same vein together. It's usually for people just want the companionship. and they don't look at all of those other components. But when you are building a life with somebody, you have to look at those components, because the things that you have issue with that seem small in the beginning are going to become like major issues when you all are 5 years out, 10 years out, or in a marriage, right? So those are the things that you have to address, like you were saying. Um, if communication is an issue, then that's actually something that needs to be caught early on and before you all get married. Because if neither party can communicate, how can you explain what's going on?
Question.
Yes.
Okay. The person, okay, just for example, that 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 voice of reason that's around, whether it's a stranger or somebody you know, that you later wind up becoming attached to and y'all get in a relationship or mess around.
Mm-hmm.
Are they really listening to you, or are they using your hurt against you in order to get into your heart? Because you basically giving them the blueprint of what your problem is. I mean, if somebody tell me everything some man or is not doing for him, of course, if I like him, of course I'm gonna do everything you said he not doing. If you just say the littlest thing, he ain't listening to me. All right, baby, anytime you need me, I'm here. I'm a good listener. And you gonna be like, oh, I like to hear that. And I mean, your guy may have did that up front when y'all got together. So it's like a circle. It's like it's like at some point is he, that new guy, is he gonna do the same thing?
Well, who knows?
But I'm
But
saying that's why you don't allow nobody in when you and your guy or you and your girl have a problem. It's like if y'all can't solve the problem, you need to just move on. Because you telling this outsider everything, of course they gonna have the answers. Or and if they don't have the answers, it's gonna
well, that
sound
would
like
be the
they have the
same
answers.
well, I'm not gonna say it's the same as, because there are a lot of people that need to seek counseling in their relationships that fail to do so. Um, or when they seek counseling, they are looking for the answers of they are right and the other person is wrong. I don't agree with that.
Well, I mean, a counselor different, but I'm saying somebody that's potentially gonna invade your relationship. And
Now that's possible.
and you and
Um,
and you kind of have an idea who's gonna invade your relationship when you're giving them information.
that's not necessarily true, but I mean, I get your point, but I'm not. There are some people that genuinely want to help, and then there's others that are just looking for the end, how to get in. So I get what you're saying, but that boils down to communication and starting off the relationship with proper communication, which um there are a lot of people that have communication issues, both men and women, where um they are not communicating their feelings, and they're not doing it in such a way that makes the other person um understand how they're truly feeling without being offensive. And that's just the way that you have to talk to a person, because you want somebody to handle you with care. So you need to handle them with care when you're communicating something. But getting those things out in the open in the beginning is what's important, because then you can see whether or not you want to continue on in that type of a relationship, because eventually it's going to fall apart. You cannot have a fully functioning healthy relationship without proper communication. And what I was about to dive into was seeing yourself and seeing that person. And when I say that, I mean, when you all have a disagreement, sometimes you don't have to say everything. I'm gonna just say you don't have to say everything that comes to your mind in that disagreement. Sometimes you have to take a step back and think about what's being said and what has been done, and then come back to the table and have the discussion. um I think that there are many people that come in guns blazing. I've done it. I can't say that I haven't. And I had to come back and apologize, which I think is very important when you're in a relationship, to understand when you're hurting somebody, um, and the words that you say to them, how they can be very damaging to them, you, and the relationship. And it actually contributes to the breakdown in a relationship, is the use of and the abuse of your tongue. I said what I said. How you talk to your partner, how you handle your partner, the things that flow out of your mouth will speak life and death into the relationship. Life or death, I should say. So you have to be very careful with what you're saying and how you're saying it, because when a person looks up and they're like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this no more. You've been talking about me since day one, so what am I here for? I'm out. And then you looking like, what you leaving me for? This is just a disagreement. Well, you can have a disagreement, but all of that verbiage and blaming and all of those different things and not seeing how you contribute to something is not love. It's not.
Well, people need to
So
separate. They need to separate a disagreement from an argument. A disagreement, we can have disagree on something all day, but we don't have to yell and scream at each other about it. I mean, you might think the sky's green. I might think it's blue. What we gonna argue about? We just disagree on it. We move on.
you know what? But a lot of, and I'm gonna just say this: you say that like it's easy, but a lot of people are stuck in their ways, set in their ways, so they want you to believe what they want you to believe. So um, how do you dead that? Like, how do you end that type of a conversation? Okay, well, so I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you go to the store with your wife. Let's just say you're married. You go to the store with your wife, and you see somebody you went to high school with, and you speak to them, and then they engage in a small sidebar conversation about what they've been up to since from high school to now, right?
Right.
And then your wife is just standing waiting, and she's just looking. She's like, okay, is he gonna introduce me? Is he gonna introduce me? Okay, didn't introduce me. And then you're like, okay, honey, come on, let's go. And she's looking like, why you ain't introduced me? Like, what? Now the neck is rolling, the mouth is smacking, fingers popping, because you was just speaking, got caught up in a conversation. It could be something that small, and when you get home, she lighten you up with her words, right? So
Right.
now something that was real small, because you like, oh my goodness, it just happened so quickly. I'm so sorry. Now has become a big issue of knockout, drag out, however you want to say, an argument. So how do you diffuse that type of situation? Um,
Well, that goes based on where your relationship stand. I mean, how respectful are you to the person that you with? I mean, is this like an ongoing
no,
thing?
we just going at the argument.
No, what I'm saying is,
She having an argument. You didn't introduce her,
right.
so that's it.
No, I understand that, but in the past, have you done this to her before? I mean, if you've always been respectful to her and you've always showed her around like this is my lady, this is my lady, this is my lady.
Right. So
If she have
if
that
you've
issue,
always done that, and in this instance you didn't do it, then she's mad. So
she gonna be mad.
now,
I'm not
now
gonna argue back with you. You know, I don't argue with people. First of all,
I'm saying, how do you diffuse that though? You
don't
can't
argue.
say that's gonna perpetuate the argument. That's gonna perpetuate her fussing. Let's just say she yelling and screaming because you usually show her off. You usually introduce her, but this time you didn't do that. So now she's yelling and screaming because that's not what you did. So you can't say in the middle of her yelling and screaming. And that is actually what men do, and y'all gotta stop doing that. Y'all can't
Well,
say, I ain't finna argue with you. You can't say
well,
that. It's another way that you gotta word that
well,
and address the actual issue at hand. So this conversation is actually very good because women get irritated when you say, I ain't finna argue with you. And it's like, well, you offended me. And that's why she's fussing, because you offended her. So get to the offense,
well,
not the I'm not gonna argue. Why ask, why are you offended?
well,
What did I do?
I mean, you can apologize and explain that you got caught up in the moment and it was a mistake. But my thing is, if she know where your heart at,
That's not true.
no.
That you
But
can't
if
say
she
that though.
don't,
That's somebody else's thought process, not yours. She cannot say that.
she just gonna have an issue then. Because
See?
if I've always treated you like a queen, and stuff happen, mistakes happen. What if you did something to me that I thought was
But that's not what we're saying. I'm
no? But
answering
what I'm
you
saying
how you
is
would diffuse that situation. I'm not saying,
something.
and this is from a standpoint of, this is the woman that you love, that you made vows to, that you love, care, respect for. You can't say, I'm not gonna argue with you, because she's going to be irritated by the fact that you just said that and she's offended. That's just like if you are offended by the same action, even if you handle it differently. And that's the other part, you can't expect somebody to handle something the way that you would handle it. You can't rationalize their actions based on how you would act or how you were thinking. They're not in your head, they're not in your body. So you all are of two different mindsets, and you're operating differently for the most part. So you have to understand where she's coming from. And that's why I'm saying the popping off part, she's popping off. And okay. So I'm going to say this. If a woman really cares about what the heck you're doing, she is going to pop off. If that woman falls back, I want you to be very scared, because that means she don't care no more. And I said what I said. But if she's popping off because you did not introduce her, in order for you to get to the root of the issue, you're not trying to spark up another argument, because now you're not validating her feelings. So you have to validate how she's feeling, because if you felt offended by something she did, you want her to validate and acknowledge how she made you feel. But then you have to come back and say, you know what? And this is what I'm gonna say. Women want men to be like, you know what? At that time, I did not think about that. I am so sorry for that. You know, this just happened really quickly. The person just walked up, started talking, lost, track of time, or I forgot to introduce you. Won't happen again. Whatever the case may be, however you word that, but women want you to try to smooth that over, so then they can do this, and then we can have a conversation.
No, that's what I was saying. I would tell her, I would apologize and say, I don't,
That is not
I
what you
got caught.
said at
No,
first.
I did say I got caught up in the moment. I didn't say that. And if she decides to keep on arguing, just like anybody, I'm gonna let you argue at that brick wall, and then you're gonna come to your senses and realize I told you.
See, you
I'm
can't say stuff
sorry.
like that.
No,
You
but
gotta say something.
it's happened to me before.
Well, I'm
I've done
pressing the
that.
man. I need another man's perspective on this. Like, what?
See, my thing,
Where
I
are the
can't,
women? What?
I can't. If you upset, I can't kiss your butt to make you calm down. If I apologize and I'm genuine, and you still mad, what I'm gonna do? Argue back
What
and
I
make it
just
work?
said was you have to talk to that woman
Really?
and bring, yes,
That ain't gonna work. I've
yes, by
been there, done that.
apologizing first for the action will calm her down enough to actually say something. Not you talking about I ain't gonna argue with you.
No,
Like,
no, no. No, that's not
and
my
this is
first
what you
word.
said.
No, I know I said that, but that ain't my first action. My first
I ain't
action,
gonna argue
I'm
with
gonna
you.
tell her I'm sorry and everything. But if she still want to be a jackass after that, then I'm gonna let her.
You
Cause
know
the
what?
same,
No,
cause
that's different. That is
no,
different.
no, yeah, because on the same end, if if somebody disrespect me and they sincerely explain what happened, I might still be upset, but I'm not gonna keep carrying on with it, especially if I know where they hard at.
Yeah, but some women are like that. So you gotta know who you with, cause
I
some
know,
women will be like, I ain't like your response, so I'm just gonna keep hooping and hollering.
and that's when I turn up the volume on the TV and say, "Go make me some biscuits and calm down." No, I'm just
You
playing.
say gonna make me some biscuits. Don't
No,
tell
but
that woman that.
no, but
your
serious.
biscuits, your biscuits gonna have something in it.
No, seriously, I'm affectionate, so I pretty much, try to make her laugh or hug her, something to calm her down, and just,
Okay, that's a little bit better. But no, you said what you said at first. I was looking at like, what?
No, I kind of start reminiscing about something that pissed me off. That's why I said,
Oh Lord,
because
having flashbacks.
yeah, I mean, I had a situation like that. It was like a real quick situation, high and bad, but it was like a little, probably like a 2-minute conversation, but we were in a rush to do something, and I didn't really think about it at the time, and you know, things got kind of bad after that. So,
Wow.
I was kind of shocked too because I ain't seen that person in like over 15 years. So it was like blah 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 blah. Then we had to go because we was at a wedding show, and I had to me and at the time when I was getting married at that time, we had to go to some we had to watch some show that was coming up. So we were like in a rush, and we just happened to cross paths, and she got so upset about it. And I'm sitting here trying to explain, I haven't seen this girl in such. And she's like, well, that's your best friend. I haven't talked to her in 15 years, but I at least told you about her. And because she heard the name and remembered the name. And I'm like, I'm surprised. She's like, so this your best friend and just happened y'all be in the same place? And I'm like, I haven't seen her. I said, didn't you see our reaction when we saw each other? We didn't jump all on each other, hugging and stuff. I tried to keep it respectable. But she got real upset, and I ain't never heard the end of that. It was like my best friend wound up getting married. I didn't go to the wedding because she was still pissed off at this girl. She said, oh, girl looked at her and rolled her eyes when she saw her. And I'm like, she ain't do all of that. So, so I kind of had a flashback when you brought that up.
That's so women they petty like that.
I mean, I'm looking at both of them.
That's funny.
I'm like, I'm like, she didn't even say nothing to you and didn't even look at you though, kind of when she was smiling. What are you seeing? But
Whatever she wanted to say. But all in all, because we've gone past the time that I had said. But so we talked about defining what love is. You have self-love, love for others, love for your partner, spouse, family. Knowing that love is an unselfish act, is transactional. When you are choosing to love another person, you are essentially sharing yourself with that person. So what we were talking about was putting their needs above your own. And those needs are not the wants, not the Louis Vuitton shoes or the buying up the mall. Like, no, we're talking about the acts of kindness, the words of affirmations, that type of a thing. What your partner needs to feel fulfilled on their end, and vice versa. And you are communicating those things and actually setting up uh, open communication with one another. Um, in that, you're showing that you actually love your partner by doing those things. Um, Understanding that how you speak to your partner is very important. Speak or about them. Uh, and then the constant hurting, manipulating, degrading, demeaning things, that is not love. Actually, I was watching, and I really don't, I'm not a real fan of this person. I'm just gonna put it out there. But I ended up watching Kevin Samuels. And some of the women that were on there were very interesting. And I would have to say that they got love all jacked up. And I didn't know this before. Like, it's quite a few women that got love jacked up. Now, I know that there are men that have it jacked up too, but I didn't know we was this jacked up, y'all. We got to get this together, because we got to know that we are on the same team as our black men. We are not supposed to be fighting against them. We should not be bashing them. They should not be bashing us either, but we should not be bashing each other. If we have a problem with one another, these things should not be public. Saying that all black men are horrible, they're cheaters, they're liars, they're whatever name you got in the book, we need to cut all of that nonsense out, because we're making it so we will be alone as black women. We are making it so they don't want anything to do with us, because you are stressing them out more than you are loving them. That is not love. All of that cussing them out at every turn, at every rep, that is not love. Talking about how many times they cheated on you, and you know, accepted them back. And now, if they ain't did it again, why are you bringing it up?
Do you think it's something wrong with teaching somebody how to love?
You know what? Not necessarily. I don't think that that's not necessarily your job. Um,
What if they
I think
never
that
been?
adults need to when they come into a relationship, they need to know the concept of what love really is. But you can teach someone how to love you, because everybody's needs and wants are different. And you can't think that your needs and wants are the same as the last guy. So learning um, a person is teaching essentially them how to love you, and what you need to uh, feel loved and wanted,
Right.
and you know, all of those things. So I think that that's important, and people need to take the time to do that. I think that um, people are not listening to one another. They're coming up with their own concept of what things should be, instead of actually hearing what the other person is saying and what it is that they're really desiring. Um, but back to like what I was talking about, as far as how in watching his videos, I just noticed that a lot of us are not loving properly, We think that love is material, where the man has to buy us all of these different things in order for us to keep up with the next person. That ain't what that is. Or we think that because we got 20 degrees, that we need a man that's got 23 degrees and making six figures and making side money from whatever jobs he got and the yacht, the everything. But here's the thing. When you get somebody that has all of that, expect him to be working consistently to fulfill those needs. So I'm just gonna put that out there. He's not gonna have time to cater to your needs. He's not gonna have time to do all of these different things that you want, because he's not gonna be there because he's too busy busting his tail trying to give you the life that you want, the cushion. Unless he already has money coming into the relationship, but a lot of times those men still work and work and work. So, the other thing is looking at the man for who he truly is, and not for the things that he can give you that are material. Looking at his qualities. So it's okay. And I'm gonna say this: a lot of women have not been proposed to, have not been. And it was a woman that had never been out on a date. I don't even know what the heck. I was like, excuse me, what? Whatever. It's women out there like that. I never heard that until listening to that man's show, but never been out on a date. There's some women who have just never experienced a lot of relationship type things because they're looking for the materialistic stuff. I'm gonna just say this right now as a woman: stop doing that, because you are missing out on all of the gazillion men that are out there that are willing to give you the world based on the fact that you just want a man that earns all of this money and will take you out on a yacht and all of this stuff. At the end of the day, that yacht ain't gonna keep you warm at night. That money ain't gonna keep you warm at night. But that man that may be making $50,000 will make your life heaven. So you got to change the narrative on that, and get down to what love really is. So that was what we were talking about, and that's how I'm going to end it. It was great talking to you, Mario. Thank you for giving your perspective. Hopefully you be back on to give your perspective on other things. You all have a great night.
All right.